What is up, guys? It is officially fall fishing, and there's one finesse application that really stands out this time of year to me, and that is the free rig. Let's talk about it.
It's a decent one. Free rig. Go.
All right, guys, like I said in the intro, it is officially fall time. We're down here in North Alabama. You guys know I primarily fish Gunnersville Lake, Wheeler Lake, Tennessee River, but I also fish Smith Lake. And really, we're seeing the nights are really starting to cool off, so we're starting to see these fish relate primarily to bait fish. They're on the move, their behavior's changing. They're getting more aggressive, but that does not mean that every single fish is going to chase a moving bait. You know, primarily I'm going to start out on a school of fish throwing something moving, but say you pull up on a spot, you scan it, or you forward facing sonar, you see a ton of fish and you know that they're bass and they're just not eating anything active. You know, you throw a swim bait, glide bait, jerk bait, crank bait, all that good stuff, and they just will not react. They might follow it, but you know, they're just not really showing a ton of interest in it. And the best way to get those fish to bite is showing them something finessey. And so this time of year, I'm gonna be honest, I don't know why, but the free rig shines. And it's very similar to a drop shot, but it's more of that vertical presentation as opposed to a Texas rig, which you guys know I love a Texas rig. I catch a lot of fish throughout the year on a Texas rig, but they really seem, the Texas rig is more of that horizontal presentation as you're dragging it across the bottom. They really seem to like that vertical presentation this time of year, especially if you're fishing around rocks or wood. Free rig is not as great in the grass. Stick to your Texas rig and all that, but between the Ned rig and the free rig and the drop shot, 9 times out of 10 I'm gonna pick up the free rig first, just because I have so much confidence in it, and it just flat out catches fish. And so today I'm gonna walk you through what all you need to fish the free rig as efficient as possible. So I've been fishing this technique for this is probably my 3rd year. I'm pretty sure it either originated in Japan or on the West Coast in like California area. If it didn't originate in California, I know they started making it big a couple years ago, and it's still something that kind of flies under the radar. It's not super popular, compared to like a Texas rig or a drop shot. It's definitely nowhere near as popular as that. But anyways, guys, this is a cheap and easy setup. Very easy to tie and rig up. It takes you less than a minute or 2 to get everything ready, and you can get started for less than 10 bucks, and you'll be able to turn that 10 bucks into a lot of fish, guys. So guys, first off, what you need is a little egg style sinker. You want to make sure that it has a closed eye on there. This one was really wide, and so I took my pliers and kind of just bent them in, that way it wouldn't run over the hook or the head of my bait. But I've actually found a solution for that, so we'll talk about that here in just a second whenever we get to it. But anyways, just cheap. You don't really need tungsten. You can use tungsten if you want to, but I just use these little Eagle Claw cheap lead sinkers. This one's 3/8, but 3/16 and a quarter is my favorite. So first you're gonna slide that egg sinker up your line, and then you're gonna take your peg. I actually learned this trick from Doug Chapin, or Chapin. I don't really know how to pronounce his name, but using a smaller peg, bobber stopper, whatever you want to call it, is actually going to prevent that weight from running too far up your line, getting on the hook, getting on the head of the bait, and also it's going to help prevent fraying of your line whenever that weight's free falling down the line, because that's it's in the name, it's a free rig. That weight runs free on the line. And then of course you need a hook. I like either a 3/0 or a 4/0 trocar wide gap hook. It really just depends on what bait you're using. I like a trick worm, and we'll get into the baits here in a second. But anyways, all I do is just tie an improved clinch knot. You can tie whatever you want, Palomar, whatever. Just go ahead and tie that. So now you're gonna see the difference that bobber stopper makes. It's gonna prevent that weight from running too far up on the line and keep it from hitting that knot and fraying your line right there. So just any type of smaller peg is really gonna do the job. As far as my baits, I like a straight tail worm 5-6 inch bait. The Exxon Deception worm is one of my favorites. The trick worm works great too. Very similar. I just like the colors that Exxon offers. You know, this is a sprayed grass color, really cool color. But my go-to here lately, especially like on the Tennessee River, like it's been raining the last 2 days, water's kind of stained. This is the Pumpkin Plum Party. It's got like a little red bug belly, green pumpkin back, great color for largemouth, smallmouth, and spots. Then if you're up north or targeting, you know, spotted bass or smallmouth, you could really downsize to like a smaller crawl bait. But you know, obviously you're gonna have to change your hook probably to like a 2-aught or something. Like if you're throwing a stealth crawl from Exxon, which is one of my favorites whenever I'm really wanting to target those fish that like the small crawls, you know, throw like a 2-aught hook. Maybe a 3-aught, you might can get away with a 3, but you know, really small hook on this small bait. This is like a 2 3/4 inch bait, but typically I'm gonna be throwing the straight tail worm, so I'll just rig it up for you. You're basically just gonna Texas rig it, run it up the back of that, take the hook point out of the back, run it up the neck of the hook, run it over your knot a little bit to where it hits that bobber stopper, and then just hook it. And boom, there you go. And that is the free rig right there, guys. Really cool bait. Catches a lot of fish. One thing to be prepared for is it catches a bunch of small fish too. And I think the reason it does this time of year, at least for me, is because those bigger fish are typically feeding up on shad. You know, they want a glide bait, jerk bait, something moving. But that's not to say that you won't catch big fish on the free rig or any other finesse application, because sometimes these, you know, especially on like Saturdays or when these lakes have a bunch of pressure, these fish just shut down and they don't want anything moving. You know, they've seen so much of the real stuff, they can, you know, kind of tell the difference between your fake bait and the real bait. And so sometimes you just gotta kind of finesse them, kind of force feed them to eat. And that's when the free rig really comes into play, guys. But as far as my rod and reel setup, I like a 7-foot medium heavy Duckett Jacob Wheeler Series 2.0. This rod is the best soft plastic rod as far as like throwing Texas rigs, free rigs, bigger Ned rigs. This is the best rod I've ever used. It is super sensitive and it's really balanced. Like, you know, you don't get any fatigue whenever you're fishing it all day. It's just really balanced from the butt of the rod all the way to the tip. Super balanced, super sensitive, lightweight rod. It just feels good. I can feel literally every little tick, little tiny pebbles, I can feel them, and really distinguished between a bite and the bottom. And then as far as reel, this is a Lew's 7:5 gear ratio. Anywhere, you know, your low 7s to mid 7s is going to be good. If you get into the 6s, I think it's a little too slow, because you really want to have free range to be able to reel that bait in fast and be able to slow it down. So I think like a low to mid 7s gear ratio is great. 15-pound Berkeley Trilene 100% fluorocarbon. Fluorocarbon's a must in my opinion, guys. But I really hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you learned something, and I really highly recommend you trying the free rig this fall. Winter, spring, really it's a year-round bait. I think it works the best in the fall. And you know, spring and summer it's hard. If I'm throwing a worm or, you know, a stick bait or something, it's hard for me to put down the Texas rig. But this time of year, it's hard for me to put down the free rig. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to like, hit the subscribe button. Stay tuned. We're gonna have a whole bunch more teaching videos this fall. Bunch of cool stuff coming your way, guys. So thanks again for watching. We'll see you in the next one.
Oh crap.